It's time for a change.
Change starts with a single action.
African Americans have been mistreated for way too long in this country.
Trayvon Martin, Ferguson, Missouri. These are names that should not and cannot be forgotten.
This is Fantasy Table. Hello, welcome everyone. This is Fantasy Countertop. How you doing today? I am your host, Caleb Pemberton. These are my co-analysts, Andrew Ward, Austin Scheidt, and of course to my left, Jake Fountain, the champion. So, boys, week 2 in the books. What do you guys think?
Well, I thought it was an exciting week, up and down. I mean, if you look at the week 2 scoreboard, we had some teams scoring in the low 100s, which is always good. But we also had a few teams scoring in the 50s. Pussy with the side of fries, 58.2 points, 0-2 on the season. Is the season done?
Well, it's just disappointing, very disappointing.
You do like to see that.
We as a team have got to be better. We've got to start producing big numbers out of our key guys. AJ Green, 2.3 points, unacceptable.
Well, we also have a team over here who's got 60 points, Team Harambe. We all thought coming into the season that they do a great job, and you just see a team decimated by injuries. What do you do about that?
I just think you got to step up as ownership. Blake, he's got to change that team name. That's the first step. Towards the positive. Blake, man, your team name sucks, dude, and I think we all can agree.
It's not fun anymore. Just get over it.
Man, and like exactly what Andrew said, injuries. You gotta trade, man. You gotta get rid of those injured players. Drop them, trade them. I think that you offered Adrian Pearson up earlier this week, but you didn't get rid of him. Why not, man?
You can't be afraid to pull the trigger, Blake. Ultimately, you are sometimes going to have to give up players you don't want to, but it's for the ultimate gain of your team, and you have to know that your long-term goals are getting into the playoffs, and you can't care about a week-to-week basis.
You offered Adrian Peterson up, and people offered you trades for him. People wanted him and were willing to give up a big-name player for him. And initially, you thought he was out for 3 to 4 days or weeks, whatever it was. But, man, he's out for the season. Should have given him up when he could have.
Blake, I realized something. You are a big name owner. Nothing wrong with that. Big names do big things. However, you got to realize the little guys, they are taking over the league sometimes. There are weeks where these no-name people make great points. I
would argue to say he's a big name supremacist.
You know what?
At the end of the day, all he cares about is who did well last year. And guess what? It doesn't matter who did well last year. It's about this year, and it's about right now.
That's right.
I'll pose a question. Is the championship hangover, is that a real thing?
So far, we're seeing it. 2 weeks in the season, we are seeing the hangover.
I really think that Blake is stuck in the closet on this one, guys. He cannot get out.
It's time for him to come out of the closet. Yeah. We've all been thinking it.
Yeah, it's just too dark in there. Blake, come to the light, man. We're here. We're supporting you.
Join us here, man.
Yeah.
We all know history of the league. There has never been a repeat champ. No team has ever won not only back-to-back years, but never a 2-time champ in history. I would say the championship hangover is real.
Yeah.
On a league like this is a very competitive league. It'll be really tough to find a repeat champion coming out here in the next 5 years or so.
Back to Andrew's point, how you've never had a 2-time champion. That's exactly why I think that Andrew won't win this year. Because, the statistics saying he cannot win and he will not win.
Well, that is an interesting viewpoint.
This is a topic for another day and another discussion. We will be right back. This is Fantasy Roundtable. How you doing? Caleb Pemberton here. Ready to introduce my one and only friend, Andrew Ward. Andrew, what do you got for us this week?
And I completely agree. I am Caleb's only friend. It's really surprising how he's gone this far in his life and he's only managed to hold one friend. But
I don't get out often.
We're back with Stockwatch again last week. I know everybody really appreciated it. Everybody really intended to enjoy the segment. So we do have this merger between SportsCenter and Stockwatch, and it seems to be going well so far.
Just to clarify, we are not SportsCenter. We are Fantasy Cabinet.
Okay, so starting off with trending up, I would say my very first trend that I think all of us would agree with is major injuries for big-time players. Just to name a few. Jonathan Stewart, RG3, Keenan Allen, Tony Romo, Peterson, Gronk just coming back tonight, Woodhead, Rawls, Doug Martin. It's incredible how this early in the season you're seeing that many huge impactors taking a fall. What do you guys think?
Running backs. say half that list is almost running backs. I mean, there's slim to none in this league now, so you really got to find the sleeper picks.
It's hard to find a good running back in this league. We all have pretty good receivers, except for a couple of you. Not going to name any names. We all have a pretty good. You know what?
No, name your names, please.
Okay, my names are Chance. Chance doesn't have a good receiving core. Okay?
Antonio Brown is not a good receiving core. I'd argue that he's by himself better than most of the duos that we have sitting at this table.
But you have to look at the past 2 weeks. Of course, the Steelers did play the Bengals, and the Bengals have a great defense.
They do.
However, Antonio Brown, you got to step up in those situations. Big games, big situations, big points. You got to do it, Antonio.
Next trend, I have old running backs, new teams. So obviously we've got DeMarco Murray now in Tennessee. We have Alfred Morris making the move to Dallas. He scored a touchdown last week rather than, he's not getting a ton of carries, but they're being very productive. And Ryan Matthews, who we also scored 2 touchdowns on Monday night. We were all very impressed with that. And a little guy named Matt Forte, who single-handedly took down the #1 player in the AS polls. So I don't know what everyone was expecting there, but I for sure saw that one coming.
Go ahead, Austin.
I was just going to say, I think that was just a lucky week for him.
Uh-huh.
We'll see how he produces in the next couple of weeks.
With Powell behind him, there's always a possibility that there could be some carries lost there, but I tend to think that he will continue to success, but we'll see. Switching to trending down, I have the U-Walk Hockey Boys. So ever since Jake's season started off with Derek Anderson as his quarterback draft, I'm not sure what he was thinking there, but he's cursed. He's finally changed his team name, and we're all really happy for him for that. Pussy with a side of fries, I think they have a lot of upside for the rest of the season. Austin named his team worst team in the league last week. I'm not sure what to do about that. And we've got Michael, and he has a sex offender history. You cannot ignore that in this time and age.
That's a very serious offense. I mean, you're looking at maybe a dime more in prison for that shit.
Now, what I would like to say about the sex offender thing, what about some trade offenders? Trade rape.
Now,
Logan Armstrong.
Every year, 1 in 5 Americans has been trade raped at some point.
1 in 4 of these analysts has been trade raped by Logan Armstrong.
Now, you may think that you want to enact the trade, but that does not necessarily mean it's okay. Here's some 3 signs that we've all noticed when knowing you might be trade raped. First of all, the player or the team owner comes up to you and says, the trade is fair. If someone has to tell you that the trade is fair, it's probably not fair.
And sometimes it can be fair. I got offered a fair trade to Austin earlier this week. He just declined it. But, sometimes it can be a fair trade. But you are right. If somebody has to deliberately tell you, this is a good trade, this is a fair trade, you are benefiting, but you don't know that right off the bat, then it's just not a good trade for you.
I also, on a note from what you were saying, I offered Blake a very good trade earlier this week. We all know he likes kickers. I offered him Adam Vinatieri and the Texans D for Adrian Peterson before we knew he was out for probably the season. So, should have taken that, Blake.
I personally feel like that third kicker may have made the difference for his team.
There's room for him on the roster, so might as well go.
For our second obvious trade rate scenario, what did you notice from that game?
Well, if you don't want it, you don't want it, Hitting accept does not necessarily mean yes. You need to review the trade, okay? We can all veto. We can stop trade rape together. However, we will not be your first responders. You need to know that we are here for you, but we cannot always act fast enough, quick enough to save you from that trade rape. I'm looking, you know what I'm looking at?
Who are you looking at?
Harris. Harris, we went there and we came in and we saved your ass, man. Load Big Dick Armstrong was about to shove it so far down your asshole that even Alexis Texas would have been jealous.
Well, my thing is that even Logan's name is offensive. My legs are shaking. That sounds like someone who is in fear of being bent over and getting traded.
Or someone who has already orgasmed and trade came all over everyone in the league. His legs were definitely shaking.
And Jake, for the obvious third sign of trade rate.
Third sign of trade rate is just, not giving consent, because, consent is super important. And
he knows firsthand, actually.
He's gotten it once out of the 3 times he's had sex.
So before you send out trade, just ask the person.
And cut it right there after I said that.
Welcome back. This is Fantasy Fire. All right, boys, this section owners who just don't do enough. We got a lot of owners. We got 12 owners in this league. Some people just aren't doing anything for the league. Jake, who do you think isn't doing enough for the league?
Well, we'll start this section off with just Blake. I'm playing Blake this week. I'm predicting a 95 to 53 win on my side. But Blake, you're just the victim in all this. You continually ask to be roasted, which just does not make sense to me. It's almost like kind of like a 50 Shades of Grey thing where you almost like get off to that, which I think is really weird. Blake, I'd like to see more just activity out of you from in the group me, through videos, whether it be interviews with Caleb. Your interview was shit, to be honest. We'd like to see more from you.
You didn't leave me much to work with. I was really disappointed.
I think you did the best with what he gave you, honestly.
Worked with what you
I
had.
did. Another thing about Blake is he always offers these bad trades. Make it a decent trade for somebody. We want you to get better, Blake, and we want you to get involved in the league. And this is something that you can get better at with practice, but it takes a lot of work and practice. And I know you can do it.
I think especially with him being the defending champ, I would expect a little more shit talk.
Yeah.
The rest of us are all pussy-ass bitches, and we couldn't take him down last year, and I'm not sure why you wouldn't rub that in our faces.
Austin, is there another owner that you think that this isn't just such a good job?
My legs are shaking. Owned by Logan Armstrong. Logan's a great guy. We love the kid. But say something to group me, man. Text me back once in a while. Snapchat me back. It just hurts, Change your team name too. Week to week, you gotta change that team name. You got a solid 1-1 record right now. We don't know where you're going. Decent team. You got Lamar Miller playing right now. We'll see how he does. But Logan, no hard feelings, man. But you gotta step it up.
Something about Logan. I've seen him featured in one video this year, and that was when they were playing.
It was a split video, if I remember correctly.
It was, and I'm like, Logan, we really want to see videos, man. We're busting our asses out here, doing the best we can to give you, the viewer, the best information about this upcoming week, and we would just love if you could return the favor a little bit. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Logan. Andrew, you're up next. Who do you got?
So, for my less than great owner this week, I have Chandler Gutierrez. Eat them titties, hog. First of all, in my opinion, I think we would all. I'm so sorry. I think we would all agree that it's a great team name. Capitalize the letters, Chandler. It does not take that long to do. You've been getting absolutely flamed this week. Everyone has been coming after you, and you won't even reply in the group me, and I have yet to see a video from you. And being an out-of-towner, we want to know what you're doing, and we want to know that you still care about this league. This is a very prestigious league, and we've got people licking our ball sacks to try to get in this league, and you won't even reply. That is unacceptable.
Chandler, I know somebody who lives out of town, and two people living out of town, and they're both participating. Who are they? Champs and Squilliam. They're doing the best they can. They cannot talk to us face to face, but they are definitely doing it FaceTime, audio and visual
effects or something.
They're making an effort, and we'd really like to see more of that. And Chandler, you're probably not going to see this video. You probably have no clue that this stuff even goes on in this league. But we'd really like it if you do watch this video. Step it up to the plate. We need you, man. We need you. Last but not least, Harris Bollinger, Hog, Commissioner, roommate. Come on, man.
The great one.
Harris, hands down, great guy. You always want to hang out with Harris. He's always doing something fun, always active. He's just like a real good man. Commissioner, not so much. League, not so much. He made it that rule the very first week. If you didn't make a video every week, then you automatically
get an L.
Yeah. And if my memory serves me correctly, I made a video last week and a recap. And Harris didn't do anything, but I still got the L. Harris, if you're going to make these rules, you need to enforce them. You need to enforce them upon yourself to give everybody an equal playing.
Well, it almost seems like he makes these decisions on a case-by-case basis, which makes no sense. As a league, we want consistency. And we want a commissioner who's willing to step up to the plate and make the tough decisions. Last year, Kane and I had a tie. We sorted out the tie and it worked out great. Later in the season, Logan had a tie. Harris never fixed it. Logan went into the playoffs with a tie. Would it have made a difference? No. But it's something that needs to be considered because it's something that shouldn't be that hard to fix.
And welcome back! Dun 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 dun! This is Fantasy Cabinet Table Sink Chair High Chair. Let's do this. Picks of the week. Hey, Andrew, can you introduce our game of the week, please?
Yeah, so our game of the week this week is Logue Sat During the Anthem, owned by our friend Austin Scheib. And remember when QBs threw the ball? Owned by Caleb Pemberton. Start with Jake.
Well, this week I have Caleb coming out on top. Look for D'Angelo Williams to have another good week. Watch out for Ezekiel Elliott for Austin. Put the ball on the ground twice last week. Look for Zeke to maybe have a little sluggish game.
I don't want to be biased or anything with my pick. However, I do feel like numbers don't lie. And then within the past 2 weeks, Austin did have the second highest scoring points 2 weeks ago. Last week, however, scored a lot of points, but just not as many as he needed to. I see. Remember when QBs threw the ball? Getting the W this week.
Hate to be biased here, but I'm gonna have to go with Logue Sat During the Anthem. One, because if I dropped to 0-3, I'm pretty much done for the year, so I really need to get that first W. Side note from that, points scored wise, I would be the second best team in the West Division, so everyone in the West, step it up.
And I also have Logue Sat During the Anthem as my winner for this week. They're a desperate team. They need to get a win here, and I think it's important that they show up and perform, and I think they will this week because they know what's on the line. And our guest picker this week is Ellie the dog. So what we have set up over here is a little, I'd say, game of sorts in which Ellie will go choose her pick by choosing which treat she wants to have in this week. So I'm going to hold Ellie, and if she can figure out how to walk on the table, we'll see where she goes. Oh, wow, folks.
Well,
There you have it, and we got Caleb.
Well, this has been another very exciting week of Fantasy Door. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Jake.
And thank you, Ellie.
Thank
We'll
you,
see you guys
Ellie.
next week.
I'm your host, Caleb Pemberton. See you next week.